It's July. It's cutting season. That means I have to lace up my running shoes and go for a 2-hour run. Or does it? Whether you're trying to lose a few pounds for a wedding or took the bulk too far and are trying to get your abs back, here's the truth about cardio that nobody will tell you. Now, the first thing you need to realize about weight loss is that diet is more important than cardio. There's a lot of junk online that says to do all these different things. However, at the end of the day, the only way you're going to lose weight is by consuming the correct amount of calories. Everyone burns a certain amount of calories a day. This can be from digesting food or other bodily functions, the movement that you do throughout the day, even if it's light, as well as a few other things. If you eat roughly the same amount of calories that you burn in a day, that's going to mean that you maintain your weight. If you eat more calories than what you burn, your body's going to store this on your body, mostly as fat. And if you eat less calories than what you burn, your body's going to steal the difference from its stores, mostly its fat stores. The idea behind cardio is that it increases the amount of calories that you burn in a day. Thus, meaning that if you ate the same amount of food, then you would lose weight. Or if you went in a calorie deficit, eating less calories than what your body burns, and did cardio at the same time, you'd lose weight even faster. However, at the end of the day, it's a lot harder to burn more calories than to consume less calories. One of these little ice creams are 260 calories. To put that in perspective, if the average person runs a mile, that's only 100 to 120 calories that they burn. So in order to consume one of these little ice cream bars, in addition to your caloric maintenance, then you're going to have to run at least 2 miles. Got the hair trimmed up. I didn't go with the bald fade that I normally do just because I'm trying to grow my hair out. So we left the sides long and brought the top down a bit just to get prepared for doing that. Now, the way I like to look at cardio is as a tool and not a requirement. You want to keep the 3,500 rule in mind when it comes to losing weight. So basically what that is 3,500 calories is roughly 1 pound of body weight. So if you're in a 500 calorie deficit, so 500 calories less than what you need to maintain your weight, and you did this for an entire week, that would be 1 pound of body weight. Cardio can help you increase the deficit that you're in, meaning that you lose weight quicker. However, this isn't required. You can lose weight strictly based off of your diet. As long as you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight, whether you increase the amount of activity that you do and burn more calories or decrease the amount of calories that you consume. Both are going to end up making you lose weight. That all said, cardio does have other benefits. It improves your cardiovascular system, obviously. It supports your mental health, improves your mental toughness and discipline. So cardio is worth doing just for those benefits alone. However, from a strictly weight loss perspective, it's not something that's required. One thing when it comes to cardio is there's a huge misconception out there. And I see creators talking about it all the time. Honestly, I was looking at one creator's profile and his whole thing was about it. And it's on treadmills, and it's so bad that my personal trainer course had a whole section clearing up the misconception. And that misconception is this fat burning zone that you hear about. The idea is that when you work out at lower intensity cardios, and that's why this little fat burning zone is on the treadmill, because it tells you when you're in that zone, you'll burn more fat. And technically this is true. However, you won't lose more fat. When you're in this fat burning zone, you burn less calories than what you would when you're doing a higher intensity cardio. The fuel source doesn't really matter when it comes to cardio. What's more important is how many calories you're actually burning when you're doing this cardio. The more calories you burn, the more you'll be in a caloric deficit, which will mean the more weight you lose. Now, this sounds confusing, and I get it. It is confusing. But what you need to know is the fuel source doesn't matter as much as how many calories you burn. Yes, you might be burning more fat that exact moment you're on the treadmill doing that low intensity cardio. However, say you did a high intensity cardio and your body used more carbohydrates as a fuel source, as they're easier to convert into energy. Your body's going to have to replace those excess calories from somewhere, and that's primarily going to come from your fat stores. So although you're not burning fat that exact moment, you're going to be in a caloric deficit, and your body's going to be needing to replace that deficit with fat stores, which is going to mean that you burn more fat throughout the day. And to be 100% clear, you're going to burn more fat than you would in the fat burning zone on the cardio machine because you're in a greater caloric deficit. So that's just something to keep in mind. Don't fall for this BS. You need to be in the fat burning zone. What matters most is how many calories you're burning, not how much fat you're burning during a cardio session. Now, you may be wondering what the best cardio is. And to that, I'd say the best type of cardio is the type that you enjoy doing. For me, it's going for a walk with my dog. If I had the time, it'd also be paddle sports like canoeing or kayaking. I love being on the water. I also like to swim, so sometimes, especially right now when it's hot in Canada, I go for a swim and get some cardio in that way. You get the idea. Something that you enjoy. Another thing that a lot of people enjoy is sports. And these honestly can be a great source of cardio. It's a lot less boring than just running on a treadmill. I definitely recommend doing them. One thing to keep in mind though is that when you play sports as an adult, typically there's drinking involved. And with drinking comes a lot of calories. So you might be losing a lot of calories, but then replenishing them with the alcohol you're drinking. So if you are playing sports, just be mindful of that and try and keep drinking to a minimal if you're trying to lose weight, or stick to low calorie drinks. Another thing to keep in mind is that if someone does 10,000 steps, that's typically 1 pound of body weight. It obviously depends on how fast they're walking or how heavy they are, as that's going to determine how many calories they're going to lose during those 10,000 steps. But as a rule, 10,000 steps equals 1 pound of body weight. So if you increase your step count every day, you're going to be able to lose more fat this way. Now, 10,000 steps might seem like a big commitment, and honestly it is kind of, but what you can do is split it up throughout the day and make it easier. So in the morning, go for a nice relaxing walk with your dog. Then maybe on your lunch break, instead of driving to go eat your lunch, go for a walk and get your lunch. Or if you prepared a lunch, just go for a walk. And then after, when you're with your significant other, then you can go for another walk. This might sound a little bit boring, but you can also use this time to work on yourself and listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook too. So although it might not seem like the most productive thing, it is going to be effective at making you lose weight. And you can also do things during this walk to make it more manageable. Personally, I find walking a hell of a lot better than running. I honestly hate to run. Before I get into the next point, I want to let you guys know about my free fitness accountability group on Discord. I would love to have you in it. The link for that will be down in the description of this video. Now, a big mistake that a lot of people make is they think that just because they went for a run earlier in the day and did cardio, that they can eat whatever they want. They think that since they burned a bunch of calories, they can consume a bunch of calories. And although they can to an extent, because your calorie deficit is a bit lower now, eating too many calories is going to inhibit your progress. If you think about it, it's a lot harder to burn calories than it is to consume less calories. So although you're doing cardio, you definitely want to make sure your diet is on point too. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time losing weight. In conclusion, I don't think cardio is mandatory. I would recommend it. Even if it's not for the weight loss benefits, it's still good for other things like I mentioned earlier. To be honest, I don't do a ton of it. I do a bit, but I control my weight mostly through my diet. If I were to choose between doing cardio or my diet, I'd choose diet any day of the week, just because it's easier to consume less calories than it is to burn those calories off. So I definitely would say, if you're going to focus on one area, then make that be diet. If you're wanting to learn more about your diet, then I definitely recommend checking out this video right here where I break it all down. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click subscribe.